Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are joining us from. Really happy to have you here, and thanks for joining us on day 4 of Build with Mapbox for 2025. My name is Gavin Delaroy. I'm just going to give everybody a couple of minutes to join. So take your time in joining, and we'll be back to start off the webinar very shortly. Before we get started, I just want to run through a couple of very quick logistics points, and that is that all of these build sessions are being recorded, as you can see in the webinar window there. So they will be available to view after the event, and we'll contact you to let you know how you can view those. We'll also be inviting live questions for Michael, and the Q&A button in the Zoom window is the way to engage the Q&A. So if you look at the bottom of the window there, you'll see a Q&A button. To participate, please submit your questions in there, and we will have a Q&A session at the end of Michael's presentation. There are also captions that are available for you to view in multiple languages. Just to enable that, just use the captions button again at the bottom of the screen. And once again, you can discover all of the build sessions that are being made available this week and the ones that are still to come in our Zoom event lobby. So that's all the logistical notes from me. I don't want to steal any of Michael's thunder. Michael is joining us, as I said, from Germany, from our great customer Delivery Hero. He's here to talk about their navigation SDK implementation, and I won't take any more of Michael's time. So it's my pleasure to welcome Michael Gerasymenko from Delivery Hero, and welcome you to the virtual stage, Michael. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Gavin. It's a great pleasure to present here at Build with Mapbox. I'm sure it was a great week for everyone who has a touch points with Mapbox, maybe working with Mapbox, or maybe part of Mapbox organization, and all the innovations and community talks were amazing. Thanks so much for joining this talk. I would give a fair warning that this talk, at least in the end of it, might get a little bit technical. So if you're not technical, feel free to join and listen about technical stuff anyway. Now, this conference is called Build with Mapbox. And for me, I took it quite literally, because I actually built this presentation with Mapbox. And as you can see, this is the Mapbox SDK, and this is the web app that hosted at my personal website. So if you would like to re-watch the slides, you can always open it and check it out. And those slides are based on the Mapbox itself. So I hope my API key would be sufficient to serve all the requests. I'm pretty sure it would be sufficient. All right, let's get this thing going. I am Michael Gerasymenko, and I'm going to talk to you about performance. I'm originally from Ukraine. I've been iOS developer since 2009, and I've been building SDKs myself. During this presentation, you might hear something critical about SDKs, but you might consider that this is coming from a person who actually developed SDKs in the past. Now, I'm working at the company called Delivery Hero, and not that many people, I think, know Delivery Hero, but it's actually a company that is present in around, I think, 70 or more than 70 countries. Our headquarters are in Berlin, so I'm speaking today from Berlin, Germany. And I'm a part of logistics. Logistics is the organization that works for serving orders. So we are not creating orders, we are delivering them. And if you're from one of those countries, you might know Delivery Hero from one of those brands that Delivery Hero consists of. So Buy Me Norvuva, eFood, Hunger Station, Pandora, Talabat, Peya, or Glovo. I think Glovo mostly present in Europe and all countries across the globe. I think here, since it's a Mapbox, I can move it around a little bit without showing all my slides. At first, I wanted to insert a small joke here that like British Empire, the sun never sets over Delivery Hero, but it's actually not true, because in the Pacific Ocean, there's a pretty big area of ocean. So sun actually sets there for Delivery Hero. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed jokes throughout this presentation. And we're working on the application for riders. And well, there are different applications out there, but this is a special application because for hundreds of thousands of riders, this is their source of income. So every day they start this app to deliver food, and it must be extremely reliable. And any quality issue that would keep riders from delivering food is impacting not only riders personally, but also our company. And everything that affects our company, of course, affects myself and my colleagues. So, of course, for this special app, there are special requirements for performance. And of course, when you talk about performance, different people see it differently. But I would say, in general, if you see that app has a bad performance, you can tell it. And of course, there has to be a formal definition for it. What we came up with is called application quality score, and it's a compound score, compound metric that comes from different pillars, which is reliability and performance. And since Delivery Hero, as I mentioned, has so many brands, so many applications, actually 14 applications, if you count them all, the competition in this metric is strong. So internally, we collect this metric and compare different apps with their application quality. And as I mentioned, it's a compound score, so different areas of performance contribute to it. For example, how long does it take for app to start? Or how long does it take to load core screens? How many frames are frozen, so it takes longer than 16 milliseconds to render? How many screens are slow to render? Or if the app is crashing? Or if the app is hanging, which means that it's not responsive for over 2 seconds? Or if the app is huge, longer or bigger than 70 megabytes or so. Of course, it's not only that. If we would be just a normal app, it would be too easy. Because frequently, people who deliver food, they might use older devices. And people who deliver food also use the devices for the whole day, 8, 10 hours, maybe longer. They work outside. And for example, we work in Saudi Arabia, where outside in summer, 45 degrees is normal temperature. And the app itself might be computationally intensive. The display is frequently on because you have to see where to deliver. And if you're outside, the brightness has to be high. The network has to be used at all times because you need to know about new orders, you need to fetch map tiles and so on. And of course, this creates a high battery drain. And when the battery is draining, riders have to charge it. And charging heats the device even more. So we're working with devices out there, even though they maybe seem to be good on paper, in these conditions, they were getting really, really slow. Now, you might ask how big Mapbox is of our app. Even visually, you can see that here on the screenshot is our application. Mapbox is a pretty big part of it. Riders, they need to see the map. They navigate with the map. And of course, it has a big impact on the application. Let's see on which metrics usage of Mapbox could be impacting. How long does it take for app to start? The app has to load Mapbox before it could start. If we have slow frames, slow rendering, app hangs, again, if and there are issues with performance in the SDK, those metrics would be impacted. If the SDK is crashing for some reason, because this is something that can happen to any code, this would also impact our metrics and the app size as well. SDK has to be shipped with the app, so of course it increases the app size. And for many engineers who might be beginners when working with SDKs, this could be this Bermuda triangle. You add an SDK, you measure metrics, you see there's an issue. What to do with it? And users might report it, you report it, leadership reports it to you, and you're actually being bound to this code that is foreign to your app. And to be honest, at this point, I would ask, what was your expectation? Because to be honest, I'm yet to see an SDK that would improve the performance of application. It's not to criticize any SDKs, but if you add some functionality, you're also going to lose something. And this something sometimes is the performance. But it's not only technical talk, it's also psychological talk. Let's talk about the ownership. Ownership taking responsibility for the outcome, even if the code is coming from a third-party SDK. And you actually control how SDK is used, how it's initialized, how it's interacting with your app. Of course, leadership looks at the results, team initiatives, but to me, I think we should change our mindset from saying it's a Mapbox problem to how can we manage, mitigate, and improve the SDK that we're integrating in our app. Another part of it, of course, is something called learned helplessness. Developers might assume that foreign code is something that's completely outside of their control, which in effect creates delays in bug resolution. Developers don't report the issues. And if you don't report issues, SDK developers would not be aware of it because, well, they don't have an app to look at. They just build the SDK. So it's absolutely fine to profile external SDKs, collect telemetry for it, and report issues to its authors. And this is actually how you break this Bermuda triangle of performance. And I would say for us and for others, Mapbox is not actually a black box. You have to learn how to use it. If you see something doesn't work for you, share it with Mapbox. Include telemetry in your application, such as performance analysis, crash analysis. Be careful with the new releases. I would recommend using beta channels to release new versions of the SDK with your apps. And as I said, as it's not a black box, use profiling, test the SDK yourself, and share learnings with Mapbox. All right, this comes to more technical part of the presentation now. And as you can see here, at certain stage of our integration with the Navigation SDK from Mapbox, we've seen a not so pleasant picture. This is the reporting from Xcode. It is showing for iOS rider app amount of hangs that our riders experienced. And as you can see, there might be a slight problem with it. It was really, really growing strong after being moderate for a while. What could this be? Yeah, it's very coincidental with us introducing navigation to riders in the countries where in this case, Talabat is. And we checked the rollout and we checked information about hangs day by day. And you could clearly see that on 18th of June, something must have been happened, because number of hangs went from, let's say, 1,000 a day to 37,000 to 50,000 a day. All right, this is the growth we want to see on our stocks, not on the number of hangs, to be honest. And of course, we started to investigate. Using our crash reporting tool and hang reporting tool Sentry, we looked at the logs, what could be the hanging code, what are the stack traces, where is it coming from? And it was actually an issue happening generally in the UI code of the application. It was really not anything to do with Mapbox. Of course, we shared it with Mapbox as well, but they were also clueless. And to be honest, like when you're adding feature like navigation, you would expect some hangs to happen, but of course not 50 times more. We did some real life testing, because this is something that we can do at Delivery Hero. We can go out as delivery riders and deliver food to test how the app performs in real life scenarios. And we figured out it's getting kind of slow to use it for a while, but it wasn't possible to debug, because it's hard to debug when you're actually delivering food. Okay, at this point we decided it's time to review the integration code. Using debugger code review helped us to identify and find the issue that was really, really peculiar. So the iOS Navigation SDK from Mapbox using something called UI appearance, which is essentially something similar to CSS. And I warned you it's a technical talk in the end, so bear with me. And we are telling operating system to give certain style to certain UI elements. However, we were not happy with the default styles. We wanted to style the navigation components to look similar to our app. So whenever we recreated navigation components UI, we restyled it to our own style. But from Mapbox, we got an event that navigation elements changed, and it happened roughly once a second. So we had to recreate those views roughly once a second, which, to be honest, we can live with. Recreating views once a second is, of course, wasteful, but it wouldn't bring your app to hang. However, since I had some experience with UI appearance in the past, I knew that it's really redundant technology from the past, to be honest, because it works in a way that if you apply styles repeatedly to the same elements, all the styles would be preserved in memory. So with this navigation view that was recreated every second, we applied Mapbox style, we applied our style, created the view, but every time we did it, all the style sheets were accumulating in memory. Moreover, UI appearance is for all views, all visual elements in the app. So when those styles were accumulating, when the other views were creating, the operating system had to go through all the styles and find the ones that apply for these new views. And in the end, it led to a situation that if the app was running for 10, 20 minutes, it accumulated so many styles that it took almost half a second to create a single view, which you would see on those hangs. So for me, the takeaways are, of course, SDKs are not magic bullets, and integration matters the most. Ownership matters. Steal your app, take responsibility of it. Truth is in collaboration, learning, and incremental and careful integration. Thank you so much. I'm open for questions.
Great, thanks, Michael. Let's just check. We haven't had any questions into the Q&A window just yet, but just an encouragement again, please drop any questions in there. Happy to try and answer anything. And Michael, thanks for the presentation. That's really great to hear about your experience that you've had, a very recent experience too, building out this navigation into the Delivery Hero Rider app. So really cool to hear about that. Thank you. Just I'll ask you one question to get started, if you don't mind. How do you get this feedback from the riders? Like, when they're out doing lots and lots of jobs per day, what mechanism do you have to collect this feedback about how things are performing?
We have two major channels. One is app has the beta release channel, and for those, the riders who subscribe for beta releases are able to provide feedback through the app directly, and then this is being accumulated and analyzed by our product and product ops team. And the other part is, I think, more interesting and at least more fun for me. We have regular sessions with prominent riders from different countries, and we speak with them directly. Usually, there are many product questions. So product people, of course, they're curious to know how their feature performs in specific market, what riders think about it. But as well as that, we also ask about the performance. And the feedback we could get from them is riders could say like, yeah, the app is just like a screensaver. It's very static. Or we can get the feedback from them saying like, okay, we have no issues with this feature. It works pretty well. Of course, this is not like the truth that we report is, of course, with this quantitative feedback. But with qualitative feedback, if something works really bad, people are very expressive about it. And moreover, as I mentioned in the beginning, since it's a source of income for many riders, a lot of them are very outspoken about how their app should work, in their opinion, and what are the things that's keeping them from being efficient and effective with delivering food.
Yeah, really interesting. Just feel free, anybody else, to drop questions in here, as we still have a couple of minutes. But just wondering, another question more from me here. Aside from the work that you've done with the Navigation SDK, have you and the Rider app at Delivery Hero, is there anything else you've played around with? Any personal projects, that maybe hobby projects you've built with? Any experiences you wanted to share that you've had some fun with?
Sure. I have a personal project called Xcode Selective Testing. You can find it on GitHub. It's a tool for selective testing. Not sure if it's the best audience to advertise it, but if you have an iOS project that is modularized, you can save a lot of time by testing only things that are changed or being affected by change.
Yeah, interesting. Just from a developer's perspective, what could Mapbox do to connect you with other colleagues, other industry colleagues, perhaps to form communities around developing with Mapbox? Any suggestions there or thoughts on what we might be able to do?
Very good question. I think as an example could be we're doing something like transition to one of the core mobile technologies called Twist, and we also work with a company that built this product for all the iOS people, for example, for iOS. And then there is a Slack community where people can exchange and learn from each other. I think bigger challenge in this approach is to have it active and let people efficiently participate in it. But at least this kind of horizontal connection between engineers, I think it could be quite powerful.
Right, interesting. I know, as I mentioned earlier at the outset, these sessions are being recorded, so we will be capturing all of this feedback from both our attendees and our presenters. So that's really great feedback, Michael. Thank you. We are at the end of the session here. So if there's no further questions from anybody, I'd like to just thank Michael on behalf of Mapbox and on behalf of you for presenting here. Really interesting story, Michael, and appreciate you sharing the details of it with us. Thank you all for joining. There are many other great build sessions coming up for the rest over the course of today and tomorrow. So I encourage you to join into as many of those as you can. And as mentioned at the outset, they will be all recorded. So we look forward to sharing those with you after the session. Thank you very much again. And Michael, once more, thanks a lot.
Thank you.